It's Mike White season. Mike White season. Get your programs, get your popcorn here. Mike White season about to enter the chat. Welcome to That Helps No One FantasyCast on the Dean Blundell Network. I'm fixing my microphone so this sounds better. I'm joined by, so far, my good friend Ted. You may have seen us on another podcast, on another show. But today we're talking fantasy football because we know way too much about fantasy football. We don't have Jim Coventry this week, so we might see a dip. We might see a dip in the ratings. We're waiting on Chris. We all have families, so sometimes things change. Sometimes, we just riff, I think is the term, right, Ted? Riffing?
Something like that. Yeah, we'll just
Something
riff.
like that. Yeah. So you got a Chicago Bears like retro hat on, I think?
No.
It looks like it.
No, this is not a Bears hat. It is a Bears hat, but it's not a Chicago Bears hat. This is a West Coast Bears hat. This is a Cal Bears hat.
There was an opportunity for me to see Cal play UCLA, I think.
Would that be something you'd want to hitch your wagon to?
Well, it was it sounds like somebody's trying to like hitch a wagon in the background of your place there.
Yeah, that's the dog. I can't control that.
Okay. No, when we were in San Francisco in like 2010, I want to say, and we had an opportunity to see, I think it was UCLA and Cal play at what's it called? AT&T Park.
Oh yeah.
But because we were only there for a couple days and we wanted to do touristy stuff, and we were about to see the Giants play the Niners the next day, and we're like, we're gonna see a pro football game. We kind of want to do Alcatraz. We kind of want to do, the pier and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we did not go to that off-site game, which would have been awesome at a baseball park. I mean, still kind of regret it, but at the same time, we did see what ended up being the NFC Championship preview that week. So that of that season. So it was a pretty good game at Candlestick. Good time.
Yeah,
so,
no doubt. That's a cool spot too.
Oh, it's just, what a neat city as a whole.
Probably a bucket list ballpark. Like you probably have to be pretty down with that.
Oh man, like go to McCovey Cove and you're like, there was a bunch of baseballs in there.
Yeah,
true story.
Some pretty important ones too.
Yeah, some kayaks and such. So I think even at the time, this is a me story. Cirque du Soleil was in town at the time. Fun fact.
Yeah, there you go.
Fun fact. I saw some tents. So how did your fantasy week go? How did all of your teams go through 1 through 7, obviously, but or you could just go through the one that we're talking about, our main one.
I'm pretty sure I lost this week. I lost to what would probably be the number 2 or 3 seed, our boy Devin, the Bills guy. He had a monster week. So he put up like 150 points. I think the average score in our week is like 115, which is, I think I did like 120 something. So well above the average. I think second highest scoring week. Got blitzed. That's my first. It's my second loss of the season. So
Garrett Wilson. He had
a massive week.
Yeah, there were some humans that did some damage for him. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, Eckler did okay. Josh Allen had himself a day. I mean, you had Mahomes, you had Chubb, you had a good week. Barkley.
I had a really good week. Yeah, I had a really good week.
You just played a guy that had a better week.
I got the beat down.
That's wild. I am still hanging on to. Where am I? Oh, I even dropped a spot. So now I'm in 8th. I'm in a tie with our boy Chris. So that ain't good. So we're both going to be fighting for that final spot with our good buddy Kyle. So I still believe in my team.
Who's a pretty smart fantasy footballer himself. He's I don't think he's won like a legit league yet, but he's always around. He's in the conversation.
Oh, he's always in there for sure. It's kind of funny. Like some guys will just be like middle of the pack all the time. Mm-hmm. And I've found like he's been near the top, but he always seems to be middle of the pack. Like he'll make playoffs or first overall pick kind of thing. Like he's always kind of in both of those boats, never really at the top. But this year I'm trying to fight with him. So again, he's right in the middle. He's number 6. So good for him. That's what happens when you try to put Packers on your team. So that's what happens. So I'm trying to get there. And then your work league there, I have like zero chance of making any headway there. So that's another write-up. I got McCaffrey, so At least I've got a good keeper for next season.
I traded anybody who resembled a starter away.
Just to try
And
to make
just
it.
somehow I'm still winning. I don't know how that's happened, but
It's weird. This has been a weird season, hey? Like when you
yeah.
start looking, we were talking about this the other day. I can't remember who I was talking with, just like injuries and how like next man up seems to be producing. And there's some years where like you could have the third or fourth running back and like, oh, you got to add him, and he's just like trash. And this seems to be
Yeah.
the year where like the next man up is producing, which isn't normal actually. Like
It's a weird league. There's just like there's a lot of strange injuries and a lot of out of the woodworks RBs and undrafted free agents, which we're going to talk a little bit about today.
for sure.
And quarterbacks, just like guys that probably were never supposed to see the light of day, doing Mike White things.
Yeah, I mean Mike White. This is season number 2 of the Mike White experiment, but
Mhm.
and we'll get into that in a second. Benny Snell, remember him?
Yeah, yeah.
He decided to enter the chat this past Monday, which was laughable. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot they still have him.
Yeah.
So it's so
Ranked
weird. He's like
446th overall in PPR leagues.
he's like the new Frank Gore, but without the panache of Frank Gore. And in case you're wondering, folks, Ted did bring up the buzzword of the day, PPR. That means points per reception. Points per reception. So I guess we do have to talk about the elephant in the room. And by elephant, I mean he had an elephant of a game, just stomped on the competition. It was Mike White season by a season and 6 weeks.
Okay, I get it now. I thought we were going to cancel this week because we literally had nobody on deck. And in fact, I canceled some stuff to make sure we were here. It's so that you could talk about Mike White. Is
I'm
that right?
only going to talk about him for like a quarter of the show. I was told in the group chat I was allowed to rant at the very most. So, Steve also brought up a great point. We should rename the show THSPOP. That helps 7% of people.
Yeah, that was me actually.
Oh, was that you? I'm sorry. I take that back and give you full credit for this.
See, you're confused a little bit because all the spelling is correct. So,
Well, that was the thing because in the rundown, you have a lot of spelling errors again. So backfield spelt wrong. But we're not going to get into that because no one gets to see that. That's us.
it's tougher when you're hammering away on your phone than it is when you're on a keyboard. I feel like.
Oh, it was a phone entry. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you that. That's fair. It was, and we'll get into it because clearly everyone knows who my Thano this week is going to be. But I'd called it. This is one of those ones where I told you to get on board because the last time that he came out of nowhere, and he kind of did again this time, I said Sunday morning, I got the receipts. I think it was like 10:03, and I said he's going to throw for 3 touchdowns today. What did he do? Got it right. I got it right. And I'm not right a lot. So
And
when
I
I'm
will
right,
say one thing about Mike White: he is very tall. Yeah.
I will agree with you on that. But you know what? So far, it is just the two of us, and I don't want to wax poetic about. I mean, geez, we're talking about the Jets quarterback, and not even the starting Jets.
Hey, I
quarterback.
mean, I think that Jets receivers are appreciating this new Jets quarterback.
And we will get into that. That is for sure. But I mean, if it's just you and me, like, let's get to the main course here. Let's get to the absolute main course. You and I both know what that means. It's time for That Helps No One Stars, or Thanos Stars, as some people may call it. If you're in the know, you might just call it Thanos Stars. To each their own. I'm not here to tell you what to do. You're a free country. Ted, because again, it's just you and me, and we'll get to the other guys eventually. Who's your Thano this week?
My Thano is Anthony Schwartz. So I just want to throw out a couple of numbers. So he's played in every game this year. He's got a catch percentage of just 33.3%. We're looking at 9 targets, 3 receptions on the year, and 3 rushing attempts. So this guy has been dressed for every single game. He's got, sub 10, 9-second track star speed. Everybody knows why he's here. And he's just been brutal. Like we're talking like 4 drops in 9 of those attempts plus some misses. So real bad. I wasn't even sure why they're still throwing to him, and they haven't been lately. And then out of nowhere, the receiver gets involved in the mix in Cleveland, but it looks a little different than we thought it would. So roll the clip.
Now Kareem Hunt tosses it back. This is Schwartz. Brissett leading the way, and Schwartz is in for a Browns touchdown. 31 yards, and for the 6th time this season, an opening drive TD for Cleveland.
And you know what I love about that? I don't know. You can probably, if you want to roll it back again, but Jacoby Brissett pitches the handoff to Chubb and then starts running up the right side of the field. Quarterback Jacoby Brissett. And then the end around happens to Schwartz, and the guy who lays the huge block and trucks over the defender is none other than Jacoby Brissett to spring Mitchell Schwartz to get to the end zone. So it was awesome. It was really fun to watch, especially Brissett in his last game, just lay a monster block on a guy too. So it was great.
What's is it like double wings, or I can't remember what that kind of play is called? Is it not a double handoff, but
like a double end around?
Yeah, great play. 40-yard run too.
The annexation of Puerto Rico. It's a little giant shutout.
Omaha. It was a wild play. Like, I was going through the videos, like, damn, that was a pretty sick touchdown.
Yeah, out of nowhere. So not started in any leagues, owned in like 2% of leagues. So that helps no one.
I mean, do you anticipate a renaissance, if you will, of the Schwartz name?
I think if Schwartz makes 3 more catches over the remainder of the season, he will have doubled his production. So that's pretty good. So would that count as a renaissance, doubling your production?
May the Schwartz be with him, I guess.
He's gonna be more involved. Absolutely. I mean, Deshaun Watson's gonna get involved in that offense. They're gonna start slinging the ball around more. It's not just gonna be a one-dimensional run offense. So he's gonna do some more things, and a guy that has track star speed is gonna be out there to draw defenders off for sure. So I see him being involved. I'm not talking about picking up Mitchell Schwartz, Anthony Schwartz for your roster here anytime soon, unless you're really, really desperate.
He got the right blocks. He had a good run on it. I mean, everything had to go right for that play to happen, to a completion, to a touchdown, right? Like, It wasn't that could have easily blown apart on like two or three different opportunities throughout that entire play. So, I mean, everything went right. He gets to be a star on the show tonight.
It's a classic Thano play, really.
Oh, this is how you write it up. This is how the game script goes. I should remind everybody, we are live on YouTube. So if you want to comment along, maybe you got some fantasy questions, or you want to brag about how amazing your lineup is, because people seem to do that here. Feel free to come by and say, oh yeah, I managed to get this in like a 16-team league, and you fleeced every other team in the league, and you've got, the top 3 running backs, top quarterback, that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I recommend getting involved in those leagues in like the seniors' homes and stuff like that. I think that's like where you can make your money.
Easy pickings. Like, really. They're just remembering to take like pills and make sure they have their vitamins. Like, this is where you make that money. Like, go after those retirement funds. Find out those 401ks they're still trying to cash out.
Yeah.
Smart
Actually,
stuff.
Don't do that. It's super bad. Sounds bad.
It's actually evil. I'm sorry. Wow, this got really dark. Steve for sure is not here this week. He is he's doing school things. His Thano this week, it was on Thanksgiving, the American version. His boy Peyton Hendershot. The Selly is pretty much what you came to see. We're going to probably see a few of these at Christmas time as well. But what's not to like? Wicked touchdown, wicked Selly.
Wicked name.
Wicked name. You're not starting him otherwise. Let's roll that clip.
Guys in the stands, that was fun.
That was awesome. How great was that? Here's a little give. Oh, it's his National Tight Ends Day. Peyton Hendershot on the run. And he's going to jump in the Salvation Army kettle. So's everyone. Greg, they're only missing you. They need another tight end.
Well, they're playing whack-a-mole. They got all 4 tight ends in the game. Nobody has more touchdowns with that personnel group, and you can.
The Selly is just, oh man, and Steve writes in his little rundown here about the Selly, but yeah, no fun league, finally letting the team have some fun. Maybe it's because of the Salvation Army bucket, I'm not sure, but he also notes that there's like still going to be a fine on the horizon too. So yeah, man, sneaks in completely untouched too. Like, nobody had any idea. I didn't even know where it was going the first time I saw it.
It's a tight end kind of league this year.
It really is. It's a tight end year.
I want to go, like, when we do our finale show, I do want to see, like, we'll have stats. We'll have stats. I'm going to have stats for everybody. I wonder what the percentage is of Thanos this season that are tight ends. Like, it's got to be at least 75%. Like, pretty close. I would say at least. I don't know. That's my guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm right. Maybe this is the second time I'll be right all season. It is my turn. I already told you who it is. It's Mike White. I told you, if you were in our group chat, he was going to score 3 touchdowns. He scored 3 touchdowns. He had over 300 yards. I wrote an article Saturday night too, telling you not to start him because, I mean, I'm an idiot. I'm going to put him in there, just get some clickbait kind of stuff. Put him as like the feature photo on the article. And he goes and he absolutely just goes on dummy mode. And like, geez, the Bears had no idea what they're facing. It was awesome. It was awesome. And this is what you get. You get Mike White season. I think Ted actually froze. I'm not even sure. Maybe he did. Regardless, here's the clip of one of his touchdowns. Here's Mike White.
What Mike White's done today. On 3rd and 4, he'll look to throw. End zone, more! Touchdown Jets! Mike White! How about him?
I mean, this wasn't a game that people are exactly marking on their calendars. You've got an injured Justin Fields who obviously didn't play. They were joking around of who was going to start at quarterback pretty much right up until kickoff. And then you've got like a Jets team who's actually played pretty well, but they've got their QB controversy. And it just, I mean, the game had just all the makings of just, it could have been nothing whatsoever. White goes up and just absolutely dominates. Like I said, has a massive day. I think he had 36 points for fantasy this past week. You can't go wrong. Let's get into Chris's guy because he clearly isn't here. And I think Ted had some Wi-Fi problems or something. So we've got, and I hope I get this right. I want to say his name like Kieft, or we're going to get to him. Check it out.
3rd down and 1. Brady throws. It is caught and taken in for a touchdown by Cole Kieft, the rookie tight end.
Another tight end, Cole Kieft. What can you do? This season has been dominated by tight ends. Ted's having like server problems or something. So I'll be here. You get to enjoy my beautiful voice. Absolutely. It was so quick. Let's watch one more time.
3rd down and 1. Brady throws. It is caught and taken in for a touchdown by Cole Kieft, the rookie tight end.
So Cole Kieft, I believe the stat was like Brady's 96th guy to catch a touchdown from him, which is pretty impressive considering that he's been able to throw to 96 different people. And usually, probably like the top 10, but the fact that he's thrown to that many different people, there's our boy. I was just getting to Cole Kieft, obviously. Just getting into talking about Brady and throwing 96 to 96 different guys for a touchdown. Impressive stat in its own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
It was a pretty lackluster touchdown, but it is what it is. So that was Chris's. I just waxed poetic about Mike White. I only showed the clip once, just in case you're wondering.
I didn't miss much.
You didn't miss much. It was one of the 3 touchdowns he threw, so that's fine. It's fine. Nobody's complaining. I got it all out of my system. We're gonna be okay.
And because didn't have to be around to hear it. It was great.
It's if you're gonna ask your Wi-Fi to crap out in you, that was probably the best time to do it. So, let's get into sneaky starts with Taylor Lewan. Welcome back, Taylor. Welcome back, Taylor. Ted, who is your sneaky start for the week?
Well, that's a good question, Ryan. Let me see if I can load up my document again now that my computer is back up and running on the restart.
Something to do with the Rams, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I don't know. It just said connection area or IP address is no longer available, so I just restarted everything.
Someone hacked into your IP address. Here, I'll do mine because I've got mine up, and you can. That way, we're gonna make this super efficient. So it isn't Mike White, but it's a guy that he threw a touchdown to. Elijah Moore, 29% owned, 8% started. New QB, new lease on life. He's not asking to be traded anytime soon anymore. Roll the dice with him. He's got a chip on his shoulder, obviously. Even if it's not Zach Wilson, maybe you get some production out of Joe Flacco with him. I mean, if you've got a guy that is now happy to be catching a football, and clearly he's talented, it's just for whatever reason, they weren't throwing him the ball. I mean, stupider things have happened to make this league work. So for all we know, like maybe this was just like the switch and they get him up in the offense. Tough to say, but I don't know. That would be my pick for this week. Elijah Moore.
Elijah Moore.
Yeah, that's what I.
Just a super good player. I really wanted Cleveland to go after him last year when the draft was going through, but he's got a little bit of Steve Smith in him. He's super angry. He's like a physical guy for a smaller receiver, and he's been doing absolutely nothing for the Jets this year, partly due to the fact that they just have a horrible quarterback core. So finally good to see Mike White in there using him a little bit. So yeah, it was nice to see more breakout.
But even if it's Joe Flacco that's throwing the ball, like if they happen to switch out,
it's like anybody but Wilson. Right?
Yeah, basically. that's what it comes down to, right? So
yeah, anyway. For sure. Okay, so internet's back up and running, able to find my starts for the week. And we are in sneaky starts, right? Is that where we're at?
We're in sneaky starts. We're in the sneakiest of starts. So sneaky that you have to do a deep dive into your computer.
Very, very sneaky, sir. Yes. Yeah. Sneaky start for this week is Kyren Williams. So in general, I think we're sort of advising people to stay away from the Rams backfield. It's a complete dumpster fire, no predictability. But if you're going to start a Rams running back, it might as well be the one that catches passes. So for my money, that's going to be Kyren Williams, not Cam Akers. I know you're a big Akers truther, I guess we can call it.
I'm moving away from the truther part of it, I think, though. I think we're all aware that they need to either use him or trade him because this has been stupid.
I think it seems like I know, Jim talked a little bit about explosiveness and coming back from an Achilles injury and all that stuff. But I think even Cam Akers is starting Williams over Cam Akers in his fantasy league this year. So we've seen that ascension in the last little bit. So it's been, 25% of the snap share. Next game was 55% of the snap share. Game after that, 70% of the snap share. So obviously he's progressing, right? That's over the last 3 weeks. So that sort of proves that he's on the up and up. He's rostered at only 50% of the leagues. That was today. So I think if you would have checked like the other day, you were looking at like 41%. He's being started at only 17. So obviously this is an ascending guy. They have the Seahawks up next. That just, scream shootout to me, and a back who can run, but is obviously a big part of third down passing attack is going to be somebody that's going to key on. So my sneaky start for the week is going to be Kyren Williams.
I was looking today for that Seahawks game, and the Rams have, like $137 million out of the game on Sunday.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, that's a lot.
We're going to see what that depth is like.
Well, and this is typical too. Like, everyone's going to start picking the Seahawks. Oh, there's no way then they lose this game. It's the kind of game where it is going to go down to like the final play or the final drive or something. Mm-hmm. It just screams that kind of game too, right? So,
right.
Steve has Garrett Wilson. We've been talking about the Jets. It's one of those weeks where we're going to talk about one team. It feels like Garrett Wilson had a pretty decent week as well. 38% started. If it is indeed Mike White slinging the ball, start Garrett Wilson. His numbers with Flacco are still pretty decent. Mm-hmm. But Zach Wilson just sucks. So it's, anybody but Zach Wilson. And it seems like this offense, it's kind of a shame too. Breece Hall going down. I think that offense might have actually been a little bit more explosive had they had a different quarterback. So we'll never know. But, maybe this is the...
Well, it looked like it had some explosiveness in it with Flacco. So the answer is probably yes.
Yeah. So it's, I hate seeing that. When we talk about it a lot in hockey too, but when everyone kind of sees how much better a team could be just by like switching one thing, and it just drives you crazy.
That Joe Flacco is elite.
Oh, he is elite. I mean, but you know what I mean? Like it happens from even just those mediocre teams that are right on the cusp of like making something of themselves, and they just never fix that one thing that would make them a contender. And you're just thinking like, why do you guys keep hitching your wagons to these guys when all you have to do is switch this one thing, and clearly you're already going to be a better team? And there's some teams that, I mean, we've seen it. You look at Detroit and the Rams. I mean, they pulled off a blockbuster trade and traded their starting quarterbacks. And they're not just like, they weren't exactly no-name quarterbacks either. You know, like you could get away with that in different markets, but geez Louise, you go and trade Goff and Stafford, like that was a massive deal. And it paid off, right? I mean, even Detroit's finally starting to look okay. Not great, but you know, better.
Better.
It's still Detroit. Like let's be honest with ourselves. Chris did not have one. So we are going to get right into, well, first we'll show this one. So that could be Chris right now. We're not quite sure, but we are into sleepy ads. And that is,
he says Nadine's not home yet and he's with the kids. So I doubt that he's sleeping.
Yeah, well,
we'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Maybe he is. Maybe wouldn't that be something? Then we'll find out about it next week. That'd be kind of awesome. Let's roll back. I'm going to go with, as my ad this week, Jermichael Hasty. 5 for 5, 67 yards and a touchdown last week. We talk about running backs and handcuffs. We talk about, I mean, geez, we're talking about handcuffs almost for like every position this season. But I mean, whoever's got Etienne, or even if you don't have him, as things get closer and closer to those playoff rounds, you're going to need these guys. They're just going to be used. This season has proven that everyone is possibly injured. You need pretty much every possible lottery ticket that you can get. And Jermichael Hasty has proven that he can be a pass-catching back. He's proven he can score. He's not a stud, but he's going to be a reliable piece of talent that you can go into on a given week if they're relying upon him. Like if Etienne goes down maybe he's down for a quarter for whatever reason, right? Next man up, you can trust that you're going to get some points out of him. So you don't need him right away, but if he's stashed on your roster, I mean, you're not losing. Worst case scenario is you drop him in the offseason, but this is the time when you start holding on to guys like that. And especially in an offense that is definitely using the run game, and they're using those pass catching options as well. So, I mean, you could do worse. You could do worse. Who do you got?
I am going to stick with the theme a little bit here, and I think my sleepy ad for the week is going to be Zonovan Knight.
Is that a real name?
I mean, maybe they're just out of Donovan's. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
But yeah, rostered in 42% of leagues, started at only 5%. We're talking about another undrafted free agent who was actually the beneficiary of this whole Michael Carter foot injury, right? So drops in the game as an undrafted free agent. I think it's cool that he's sort of stuck around, been working on the practice squads, come up with the team a little bit, gets his first chance and just like goes off for over 100 scrimmage yards versus the Bears. So immediate value, I think, is going to depend on, like you said, just like the whole Etienne thing, right? It's going to depend on the severity of Carter's injury. And then there's availability issues there with James Robinson, right? So they have some running back problems, but I'm doubting that both of those guys are going to be back in the picture. I can see one of them being back in the picture. Yeah. But I think in this game, I think he really proved that he doesn't have to be the runner to do damage. I think he's shown that he can catch the ball out of the backfield. We just talked about that, a little earlier with our sleepy start of the week, right? So even if Robinson does come back or Carter does come back and sort of acts as that, the heavy in the running back rotation, I think that he's going to carve himself out a nice little role here as a third down passing option. So it could be depending on your situation, it could be a start for you in one of the flex options, or depending on who you have on your roster. If you have carrying a Michael Carter, it's going to be a guy, or a James Robinson, it's going to be a guy that you're going to try to flex into your lineup, in an important spot. So definitely got to be having on your roster at the very least on a night.
I just like the fact that is a real person.
Yeah, that's all name team material, I think.
Yeah, and Steve isn't here to debate or protect that. He's got, speaking of Steve, and this kind of hurts, but he's not wrong, Melvin Gordon the third, not the second. Did you drop him? No, I can't afford to. I can't afford to drop a guy that we're not going to get into how that trade went down. That's for another day. Basically dropped everywhere. Obviously, in normal leagues, I can't drop him because I am now tied to him. He's available in 54% of sleeper leagues, which is not too bad. So you're going to get him in as many leagues as you're not going to get him. So I guess that's good. He's a TD vulture, and that's why I'm personally going to keep him because I don't have a choice. I need to make the playoffs. Andy Reid, obviously unpredictable at the running back position because he's now a Chief, which I thought was kind of cool. So again, there's another team that's just, very smart. They're going to add one more weapon. Looks like, how's Kadarius Toney looking? Is he injured again?
I think Tony's hurt, yeah.
Is he actually injured now?
I don't even
like injured.
I don't know what the deal is with Tony right now, but you're right. Andy Reid is he's one of those coaches where you feel like, okay, this could be a net zero, just like he's been for most of the year, but he's with Reid now. So now there's the chance that he could unlock something there, right? So I think you're always going to have the issues with fumbling because that's just part of Melvin Gordon's game. But you're right. He does vulture. He can score. He's a guy that you sort of have to look out for who has experience in this league and understands defenses, right? So I don't think he's going to be in a situation where he's just going to take over because that's just hard to do. But he is a vet coming into this offense who probably is going to pick up things a lot quicker than, another free agent off the street who's maybe younger and hasn't been in the league as long. So I don't think anything is amazing is going to happen. But, Steve's right. This is a guy that you probably need to have on your bench.
I got a question for you, and maybe I'm just ignorant. And again, I don't know, but I'm going to ask you this, and this would have been a great question for Jim had this happened a week later. Do you see the Chiefs maybe adopting a little bit of a 2-back set, as a pass, having more of a pass catching option as well, more of screen pass kind of thing?
Do you mean
I'm not saying week to week, but could you see them kind of putting in a game plan depending? I'm not sure who they've got down the stretch here, but maybe something like a dual back system. I'm just kind of going to look right now who they've got left.
I don't know enough about the Chiefs offense, but are you talking about what Cleveland runs where they'll have plays where you have Kareem Hunt on as an option, maybe he runs in the fullback spot, and then you have
exactly that's what I'm kind of getting
as well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I think even if Melvin Gordon was in Cleveland, and you still had Nick Chubb as your bell cow, I think Kareem Hunt has a hard time getting on the field for a 2-back set, and I don't think that Melvin Gordon is prolific enough to warrant forcing an extra position player off the offense to put him in on a play that he might not be used for. I don't know if he's dangerous enough for the defense to sort of respect that. So again, I don't watch enough Chiefs football to know if they run 2-back sets often enough, but my initial reaction is no, that he doesn't dictate or warrant that kind of setup, especially because we're not talking about a guy who has huge advanced knowledge of the playbook. There's not a bunch of stuff in there for him for that specific scenario. So had he been around a lot longer, and if he was a more important piece on the offense, then maybe I think there'd probably be a handful of plays in 2-back, just like there is in Cleveland.
Right.
But off the start, no, I don't think that's going to be a huge factor.
I'm just trying to sound interesting, Ted. I really am. I'm just trying to. People need to come to me and still be like, "Oh, he's credible." He's got the odd thing to say. As maybe maybe people don't find me as credible, but you know what? In the NFL, sometimes even the most credible organizations do some pretty stupid things, and we forgot to show this at the beginning, but it's worth showing. So I hadn't actually watched that clip. Apparently, I had it muted when I added this. So we went, 1920s, silent films, basically on that last play. Are you allowed to correct me if I'm wrong? And I don't think you can, but are you allowed to add just another, DB off of the sideline for any given play, during the field of play? I don't think you can.
I didn't see this play. I don't. So somebody was telling me about it. I don't know what happened on this play other than they had basically a too many men play, or somebody ran on the field, made a pick, and then just got off.
Okay, so we're gonna watch again. We're gonna go to silent mode and watch. They're gonna square off the guy coming off the sideline in red. So check it out.
Why did he do that?
I don't know. And he throws a block. Like, you can't.
Was he supposed to be on the field? Like, they were like, "Oh my God, we're a guy short," and then he runs on. Like, is there a massive fine that came down? I think we need to do more research into that because that's hilarious.
So, but it's crazy because the pick happens, right?
That's why we need Chris here because he's the Seattle thing. He would have been watching that game.
He's probably just chomping. Like, maybe he is watching us, and I just feel like Chris needs Chris, if you are watching us, please chime in on the chat or something. I'm assuming your kids are sleeping, but who knows? Because you can't just come off the field and not just, well, you
clearly
can.
You can. I just saw it.
But the fact it happened, Ryan. It's fact. But I find it so funny too. It's not there's the band is on the field kind of thing. He went in there and he threw a block down, not a major one, but
not a Jacoby Brissett block.
He ran a pick on it after the interception. You can't do that. You're not allowed. Those are part of the rules. So I wish I would have had some sound on that, but we'll look into that. Maybe we can add that in our Saturday night starts. So I thought that was pretty funny. It's one of the, I missed the game, so I was seeing only the highlights. I'm like, but she's probably not supposed to do that. I can't imagine Pete Carroll was a big fan of how that shook down afterwards. So, especially because they lost. So, I mean, who would have known? We didn't even have Josh Jacobs as a Fano. I wanted to have him so bad, and I thought, no, he started and rostered in 98% of leagues everywhere.
It's the stupidest thing ever.
And then just goes off for
that didn't help 2% of people.
Yeah, the two people. It's because oh shoot, I should have started. If you've got him, come on. But he went off for, was it over 300 all-purpose yards, I think?
I think he went off for infinity all-purpose yards, yeah.
He had 46 or 48 fantasy points, which if you ever read that book that I borrowed out to you, you'll find out if he's in the top 10 for fantasy scoring. See how I did it? See how I'm good.
Just sneak it in there, yeah.
This is a play that I could do, and it's fun for me mostly.
You should sort of stand up, show everybody your shirt real quick.
Oh yeah. So check this out. You guys thought that I was loud. I have clothing that's louder. Not bad. It's not bad. All over print. Perfect Christmas morning.
It's the most Ryan Hank shirt I've ever seen.
Have I worn Galaxy Cat on this show?
Yeah. And
you think this outdoes the Galaxy Cat?
Possibly. I mean, I've seen Galaxy Cat enough now that it's not a new thing.
It's not shocking to you anymore?
Yeah.
That's fair.
And Galaxy, lots of people have Galaxy. You can just look up Galaxy Cat and see all the people wearing it. It's not a...
That's true, but this is a one of one so far.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm really hoping it catches on. Maybe I'm a trendsetter. Maybe I'm not. That's okay. It's comfy. I mean, if only there was other colors of something like this. Maybe one day, someone will catch on.
Maybe I'll wear it with this hat.
You should do that. That'd be great. We'll finish on a strong point. Russell Wilson not having a great season. No surprise there. Mm-mm. There are all these rumors, and
I think it's a surprise. I don't think anybody foresaw him being this bad.
It's no surprise now.
I mean, we're looking at this season right now. Let's talk about two of the most underwhelming quarterbacks in the league this year. And how do you feel about Tom Brady and Russell Wilson?
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair.
Starting week 13, I'm talking about, starting Danny Dimes and Geno Smith over Russell Wilson and Tom Brady. That's the kind of world we live in now.
That is, I don't mind living in that world. I'd prefer not to. But I think my question was, and you've probably seen, kind of the rumors that pop up on Twitter, if they did this, they'd have dead cap, blah blah blah, and the dead cap on releasing him in June would be astronomical to start. It would be bad. But I was thinking about this, and I guess Russ just had a birthday. Sounds like, and Sierra threw him a birthday party.
Nice.
Must be nice, which is cool. And apparently only half of his teammates came, which got me to thinking, is Russell Wilson, and we're going to finish on this, is Russell Wilson the real life Bo Callahan. And I got to think, because it's got the Seahawks tie in there too, right? I mean, there's a lot of parallel narratives on this. So if any of you guys have seen Draft Day, great movie, even though it is about the Cleveland Browns. Definitely fantasy, because there's no way that much good happens with that team, and people are excited about it. To add, I know you were. It's honestly, it's one of my favorite sports movies. I'm not gonna lie, it's great.
It's great fun.
It's great fun. But like the whole thing is, and like ask me who wasn't at his birthday party. Ask me, like, just tell me. He's like, his teammates.
That's the difference between Bo Callahan and Russell Wilson, then, right?
Yeah.
Half of Russ's teammates came. None of Bo Callahan's came.
Yeah. So maybe Geno Smith is like the Brian Drew of the NFL. Like, it's just, I almost need to watch that movie again. I mean, while I'm editing this, I might do that tonight.
Yeah.
So great. So anyway, put that in your pipe and smoke it this week, folks, is what I had a teacher that used to say, which is kind of weird thinking back, but
I think that's about crack, that one.
I think it is. I think it does make me think about that. Like, he was one of my favorite teachers, and maybe we thought it was like a tobacco pipe, but I'm pretty sure you're right that is
I vividly remember that it was the Just Say No campaign, right? And then we had like, there was like a police officer like, what do you do if someone offers you drugs? And it was like third grade or whatever. And one kid put his hands up and he's like, tell him to take a pill. And the cop's like, no.
That is not.
No. That's the same thing. No, we don't say that. It was just the funniest thing. Everybody's like, oh, he was so sad.
Awkward. Yeah. So anyway, if you guys have a chance to watch Draft Day anytime soon, really start doing some deep dive thoughts on is Russell Wilson the next Bo Callahan? It's tough to say. I don't really remember
Bo Callahan
and David Putney.
Yeah,
David Putney. It was a good show. That's pretty much it for us on That Helps No One Fantasy Cast. Thanks for everybody that watched, and obviously we're on a podcast as well, so you can listen to it tomorrow morning before the football games start on Thursday night. I just handed in all my picks. I'm making a run. I'm only six picks back after being in the lead. I had 3 weeks of 6 right. So you're going to fall down a little bit, but get back up. Fall down 3 times, stand up 3 times.
I think there's still a chance you're gaining on Gertrude, and there's still a chance for you to check Dolores and get there.
By any means necessary. Lie, cheat, and steal. I'm pretty sure. That might be a wrestling thing. Can't remember. So, on behalf of the Chicago Bears, which is, hey, I'm kidding around. On behalf of Cal State, on behalf of Ted and that very wicked hat, if you're watching the show, I'm Ryan. This is That Helps No One Fantasy Cast on the Dean Blundell Network. Have a wonderful fantasy week. Good luck. Hopefully Mike White wins you your week. Let me know if that happens, because that'd make me feel better. Peace out.